We got 3 minutes, but that's okay. We're still waiting on Bob and Brian anyway. Is this mine, Bob? I don't want to take your water.
No.
All right. How's everybody doing? Y'all are so quiet tonight. Renee. We got a lot going on this afternoon. The proclamation.
Yeah. They only returned that.
So Ricky still got his?
Yes.
Ricky, are you done with your closed session meetings?
How are you?
Not Chelsea, you done?
I ain't touching it. I ain't touching it. Put that over there.
You done with your closed session meetings? Done with your closed session meetings?
All right, friends. How's everybody doing? Good? Great. Sounds great. It is 5:59. Wait a minute. We'll be official. We'll be patient. Okay. All right. Everybody settled? Bob, Brian, you good? Okay. Welcome, everybody. I would like to call the May 12th, 2026 City Council meeting to order and welcome everybody here and those listening on YouTube. At this time, I would like to invite up Matthew Edwards from Community Baptist Church to give our invocation. Thank you so much for being here. At the mic right beside you, if that's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Well, just like Mayor Dickey said, my name is Matthew Edwards. I'm the representative this evening for Community Baptist Church. And I just want to say on behalf of Community Baptist Church, thank you for having us here. And let us ask the Lord to bless our time this evening and specifically ask for wisdom and discretion in some of the matters we have to make decisions on. So let us go to the Lord at this time. Our gracious God and Heavenly Father, we do thank you for this day. This is the day that you have made, and we rejoice and are glad in it. Thank you for bringing us here safely, and we just ask that you watch over this meeting in all the details that are discussed. And as we said, Lord, when it comes to matters like we are talking about this evening, where it affects not only just us, but for those in our community, we just ask for wisdom. We ask for discernment. Like Solomon, we are presented with many opportunities for money, for land, and for just different things that we need. But the most important thing that we need above all else is wisdom. And so just help us to make good choices and decisions. Help us to think about our neighbor and just give us the words to speak, the actions that will back up our words. And so we just thank you for this opportunity. Bless this evening. We love you and we thank you for who you are and for what you do for us. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Matthew. All right, if y'all could stand with me if you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. All right. At this time, Molly, we're gonna hold off just for a minute, if that's okay. She's getting it ready in there. Oh, never mind. At this time, we would like to have a proclamation per Preservation Alamance. Thank you so much, Renee.
Oh, we have to come out here. Okay.
All right. So this is a proclamation proclaiming May 2026 as Preservation Month in the city of Graham. Whereas Preservation Alamance is a nonprofit organization created in October of 2016 from a concern of demolition of local historic properties. Through the preservation, education, and involvement, Preservation Alamance seeks to protect and celebrate the architectural and historical heritage of Alamance County and the surrounding area. By fostering within the community of appreciation of our historic properties, we aim to promote interest in and good stewardship of our local historic treasures. And whereas our historic properties are a part of the fabric of Graham's unique local culture and create a sense of place. Graham's historic neighborhoods are attractive, safe, and enjoyable places to live and work. Preservation provides affordable, sustainable, and comfortable housing in well-established neighborhoods and attracts tourist dollars to our community. And whereas historic preservation protects city resources and infrastructure, promotes economic development, supports local jobs in the area of heritage tourism, construction, building materials, landscaping, and architecture, and enhances local property values. And whereas the city of Graham is home to 2 historic districts listed on the National Register of Historic Places, including the Courthouse Square Historic District and the North Main Historic District, as well as several individual listed properties, including Oneida Cotton Mills, Scott Mebane Manufacturing Company Complex, Sidney Cotton Mill, and the Alamance County Courthouse, and the William P. Morrow House. Whereas the City of Graham recognizes Preservation Month 2026, celebrating those individuals and organizations that devote their time, energy, and resources to preserving and protecting Graham's treasured historic properties. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Chelsea Dickey, and the Graham City Council do hereby proclaim the month of May 2026 as Preservation Month in the City of Graham. Thank you. Would you like to hold this in between us? Thank you, Renee. I still need to sign up. Y'all, this is Molly. I want Molly to say a couple words about Preservation Alamance.
Thank you so much. My name's Molly Whitlatch, and I'm a board member and current president of Preservation Alamance. And I'm here with my colleague, Alex Courtney. He's also a board member. And we're really excited to share that we have expanded. We started about 10 years ago originally as Preservation Burlington, have expanded to a county-wide mission. And so we're really excited to be able to share the resources and education programs that we have with the city of Graham. And I also wanted to make this council, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to celebrate Preservation Month, but I also wanted to let you know that we have a historic property grant program that has now been opened up to the city of Graham. So property owners within the Main Street District or the North Main Street District or the Downtown District have the opportunity to apply for grant funding for exterior repairs through our nonprofit. So we have a few cards here that we can share. We want to be a partner and a resource to the city and to the residents of Graham that own historic properties. And so please reach out to us if there's anything that we can do to support you. So thank you so much, Mayor Dickey and council members. We really appreciate your time.
All right, friends. At this time, I would like to invite, or I'll recognize our city manager, Megan Garner, for the introduction of our next presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. We do have Jess Arias with Burlington Animal Services here to do a presentation. As I'm sure everyone is aware, we contract with the city of Burlington for animal sheltering services and some of the educational components that go along with that. She's here to give a presentation so that city council and the public can be aware of all of the services that come along with the contract and the funds that we pay into that. So with that, I'll introduce Jess Arias. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me, City Manager Garner, and thank you, Mayor and Council, for having me out tonight to speak with you about animal services. Let's see if I can get this in position here so I can talk. So I think, Erin, do you have, yeah, there we go. So I wanted to just, I'm not sure how the best way to flip through the slides, but you want me to just let you know? Or do you have a clicker? All right. So just to provide a brief overview, let me get to the next slide here. Oh. Oh. There we go. And there's some, are you able to click through on that? It's not quite, doesn't have the, there we go. Okay, thank you. So Burlington Animal Services essentially has two large focus areas. Obviously, our goal is to provide positive outcomes for not only pets, but also families in our community. One of our focus areas in accomplishing that is preventing intake at the animal shelter. That's unnecessary intake. So we do that through pet help support programming. We have expanded providing accessible and affordable sustainable spay and neuter and basic wellness services, both at the BAS clinic and at the spay and neuter clinic of Alamance County. And also we look at doing focused outreach, education, and ordinance enforcement in both our city of Burlington, as well as now we have the contract for the city of Gibsonville to provide field services and support other neighboring jurisdictions as well. I know that our officers often support some of the Graham police officers with more complex animal control issues that they're working through in partnership. And we also maintain regulatory compliance in an increasingly complex regulatory environment with the state. State statute and Department of Agriculture, as well as the Veterinary Medical Board, governs how we operate both the animal shelter as well as our veterinary clinic. And the restrictions there have become much more tight in the past 5 years, I will say. The last administrative code update, probably about 5 years ago, provided more very specific stipulations and mandates surrounding if we have dogs and cats that are in our facility, how often they needed to be provided with enrichment and daily handling and socialization. And so a lot of things that were not required in the past, but are very staff and resource intensive, are now required by statute. And that, of course, has been reflected in some of our operating costs over the past few years, which we'll get into a little bit more. The other side of the house for us is placing pets in the community once they have come into our facility. So if we can prevent them from coming in, if it's not necessary, we try to do that, but it's not always, we're not always able to prevent intake. A lot of intake needs to happen because a pet might be ill. They might be creating a public safety issue. So we use a triage intake system, much like you'd think about if you're making a decision whether to go to the emergency room versus urgent care versus an appointment at your regular physician. So for us, we look at animals and the situations they're in on a triage basis and really prioritize those that have no other options and are true emergencies. And, you know, that can sometimes create challenges in and of itself. In past years, we haven't had to do that. But in recent years, we've had to increasingly apply a triage system because the intake requests that we have received have far surpassed our capacity for care, not only when you're talking about physical kennels, but mostly you're talking about resources such as staffing resources and funding resources that pay for the medical care and supplies for those pets. And so it's really a challenging environment, especially as our community has grown in all of our municipal jurisdictions. We've seen population increases, and with that becomes more pets to care for. And of course, the other side of the placement or other side of the house I was starting to get into is our pet placement, and that is all about adoption, foster, return to home, engaging our community through marketing and advertising to try to get pets placed, try to educate community on proper pet care, pet responsibility, as well as the veterinary resources that we have available to help keep pets and families together in their home environments. And we can go on to the next slide. So this is an overview just looking at positive outcomes, which include adoptions, return to home, as well as transfers to partner organizations, and that's in the orange bar, compared to euthanasia. So how many pets were put to death at Burlington Animal Services since 2008 until 2025. I've been with the agency starting at the end of 2023, and euthanasia had already started to come down after the city had put in implemented the spay and neuter clinic of Alamance County. So you can see there's a direct correlation with the number of affordable, accessible spay neuters we're able to do and the number of unwanted pets that end up requiring sheltering services. We continued to push forward with both the spay neuter efforts as well as positive outcomes. We created a foster program, increased community engagement, have programs such as Dog Day Out and Dog Adventures that we partner with Parks and Rec, Hikes with Hounds, which is still going strong. And one way that we do that is partnering with Graham's Parks and Rec Department to take dogs out on group hikes and to explore the great trails and parks that we have around our cities and county. So we were able to flip the narrative there. And since 2018, we've been saving more than 90% of all pets that come into our facility. And that makes us eligible to be considered what's called a no-kill shelter. A no-kill shelter doesn't mean animals are never euthanized, but it means animals are not euthanized for space, such as healthy animals that could be healthy, safe animals are never euthanized for space in a no-kill facility. So we're really proud of being able to do that because we know that these are numbers of animals that we see, but every number has a name, and that's really important to remember. And we can go on to the next slide, because that adds in the layer of intake. So that shows in the gray bar how admissions of pets at the shelter has changed since 2008. We were at an all-time high. We hit nearly 9,000 pets in Alamance County. Comparatively, places like Charlotte maybe sees 10 to 12,000. I think Guilford County, which is massive, they see around 9 to 10,000. Wake County, I think around 12,000. So for a county the size of Alamance, it's pretty incredible that we ever saw intake back in 2008 between 8 and 10,000 pets. That number started decreasing after we were able to provide spay-neuter resources to the community to make spay-neuter low cost and more available. And then we also implemented our initiatives, like I was talking about with positive outcomes, to try to get pets into foster homes, get the community engaged to be part of the solution. So that helped us decrease intake a little more. And then, of course, COVID, that was a bit of an anomalous year. That's a hard word to say. But so we saw a dip in intake that year. But then every year since, we've saw a consistent increase. And a lot of that relates to the state of the economy. The cost of everything has gone up. So I think it's harder for people to afford care for their pets. I know for my own pet, the cost of vet care has risen dramatically just for basic care. And whereas a few years ago, you could probably take your dog or cat to your regular vet and get it fixed for maybe under $500, now you're lucky to find some place to get it fixed for under $1,200. And that is no joke. And that's really out of reach for a lot of people. And we've recognized that, which is why we've really been working incredibly hard to expand spay-neuter resources. But even for us, that comes at a cost, because the cost to hire and retain veterinary professionals is higher than ever. The cost to buy the supplies that are needed to support those surgeries safely is higher than ever. So it's made a real challenging environment to be trying to provide these services to help, alleviate the problem of unwanted pets in the context of this environment where there's more need now than ever in our community. So going on to the next slide, I just wanted to kind of review some of our numbers, and so you get a sense of the volume of animals that we care for at Animal Services. In 2025, we admitted 6,400 pets. The year before that, we admitted 7,004, and that stretched us beyond our capacity for care. And we really had to become more stringent with our intake triage last year and this year, because we realized that if we don't, we're going to be running in violation of Department of Agriculture standards and veterinary care standards. And we can't do that and operate. I mean, I see a lot of colleagues around the state, counties, where they're receiving fines for simple things like not providing proper care for their animals in the shelter, or not treating a simple illness. Or it can be things like they're not documenting things properly in a record because they're short-staffed and they're getting fined thousands of dollars. Knock on wood, we just had a glowing inspection report. And, I always brace myself when the inspector comes to visit us, because they're looking to find something. And they rarely walk out of our facility without finding something. It might not be something that we get penalized for, but it's something that we need to improve on. This time we had a glowing report, and that's a testament to the level of care and dedication that we have in the staff that works in our facilities and cares for these pets day in and day out. So I'm really proud of that team. And out of those 6,400 that we had admitted last year, we saved 93% of them. That was 5,724 pets. Can you imagine what 5,724 pets is? Or 6,000 coming through your doors. And we have a team of 50 people. That includes full-time, part-time, vendors, our veterinarians that work with us that aren't staff, but that are hourly people. So that's a whole lot that they're doing year in and year out. And that doesn't include all the families that they have helped and touched that didn't translate into an intake. We have a staff member on our team that her whole job is working as a case manager. It's kind of like a social worker for pets. And her whole goal is to try to support people if they can keep a pet, try to connect them with local resources. Like we have a pet food pantry that's completely supported with donations. We provide free pet food when people struggle to feed their pets. And every month we run out of food. The need is so great. So we're doing all we can with limited resources, but it's still not enough. So it's a real challenge. And on the next slide, I wanted to talk a little more specifically to show you. The slide on the left shows annual pet admissions between 2018 to 2025, and it's a comparison so you can see all the jurisdictions that we serve. And that includes Alamance County and Burlington, which are always the largest. So we're receiving about half the pets from Alamance County, a little under that from Burlington. And then you have the rest of the municipal partners, including Graham, at 10% or less. The slide on the right shows you what that 10% or less looks like, with those big outliers of the whole county and Burlington kind of thrown out of that. So you can see how Graham compares with the rest of the municipal partners. And you can see Graham is around 7 to 8% any given year. We, of course, had a dip through those COVID years, and now we're ticking back up, with last year being the highest year since 2020 and since before COVID. And we can see that that's the case. Mebbane's right behind Graham, and that really is consistent with what we see with larger populations in Mebane and Graham, and how our communities have grown and continue to contribute there. And we'll move on to the next slide. This shows year to date, so I didn't obviously not full year data for 2026, but I wanted to show you at least what's going on within the first quarter from January to March. So again, the slide on the left shows everyone, including Burlington and Alamance, and we can see that, again, that's about consistent with where we were the last 4 or 5 years. So we're shaping up to be on track again this year. Usually the first quarter, January, February, and March, are our slow months. It's winter, it's colder. Puppy and kitten season, as we call it, hasn't gotten into full swing. It happens about this time, May, June, July. We always see our intake numbers increase for the summer. So this is the slow period, and we're already seeing about what we did last year. So I expect this year we'll be at or just above where we were last year. And that's with us doing all we can to try to prevent unnecessary intake this year. And on the right, that shows with Burlington and Graham out of the equation, just so you can see the 8% or less that's been coming in from Graham, Mebane, and then the rest of the smaller municipalities. And on our next slide, we have our annual pet admissions just from the city of Graham. So you can see what that looks like standalone from 2018 to 2025, and that ranges anywhere between 400 to 500, maybe around 450 in 2018, to above 500 last year. So you can see that that has been on the upswing, but so has people moving to Graham, me included. I was one of those people that moved to Graham last year. And then the first quarter of this year, you can kind of see where we're at there too. The next I wanted to talk about is all of our, which I've already touched on this, but this kind of is a slide that shows you all of the things that we're doing at Burlington Animal Services to serve our community. A lot of people think about us and think we just do animal shelter, we intake pets, and we do some animal control, but oh my goodness, it's so much more than that. We're doing a lot with Pet Help Pantry. We do a lot to We've got this Mighty Mouser community cat program, which we last year sterilized over 1,800 cats from all over the county. That's making a dent in the cat population, the unwanted cats. We don't have so many kittens coming in. We still have a lot of really cute ones, but not so many sick kittens that like used to have happen. And we're not seeing as many nuisance issues related to cats around the community, although they're still there, but we've got a great program in place to mitigate some of those things. And obviously, I could spend a whole hour telling you about Mighty Mousers, but we'll glance over it. But if you're ever interested in learning more about that, I'm happy to share. It's more than just a spay-neuter program for cats. They're vaccinated. We also work with homeowners to mitigate nuisance complaint issues because it's more than just about the cats. It's also making sure that people that aren't cat people get to have peace and quiet of their property too. And so we have some nuisance mitigation solutions that our officers can work with residents to deploy to keep unwanted cats away from their property. And we do a BAS fix, which is a spay-neuter assistance that's open to any county resident that is under certain income thresholds. So they're usually at or below poverty level, and they can get their pet fixed for free or for a $20 copay. And obviously, we talked about the pet food pantry. We also work with a private funding partner to support people that need help affording vet care when their pets are sick. Sometimes we have pets that have illness that they can't afford, and it's something completely treatable. And it's just a simple vet visit, maybe a round of medication. And that means the difference between them having to surrender a pet and letting it become part of our charge that we have to care for, or a donor that's able to support them and keep them in their home. So we try to do that as much as possible. I will say when I run every year the report that I send to the state on the spay-neuter program, they ask me, how much is your cost per pet? And that's a hard one because every pet costs a little different, but I usually take the number of pets that we admit each year, divided into how much funding we receive for the year. Last year, that number was around $420 per pet. So you can see how much every pet costs, and that's average, which is why we try to do everything we can to limit the number of pets that are coming in that don't need to come in. If they need to come in, they need to come in. That's why we're there. But there's many that don't, that can stay in their home. So this is just touching on a lot of those pieces of programming that we do, include all the volunteer programs. I know we have a microchip scan station in every jurisdiction now that we partner with. So when people find a lost pet after hours or the weekend, or even during the middle of the day, they can run by their nearest scan station, which is right in their community, and check to see if it has a chip. Often we can enable community to be part of the solution and help get those pets home without them ever having to come into the facility. And on this next slide, I prepared a little bit more about our information about our field and pet help support activities. Most of the field activities related to animal control are our officers working in Burlington and Gibsonville, and that's reflected at the top. But it also shows how often our officers are going to do mutual aid support in other jurisdictions when police departments call for help or call for support in transporting a pet because maybe they don't have the right equipment to transport a pet from their jurisdiction to the shelter, or maybe they need support with a cruelty case. So our officers are already doing that in a mutual aid capacity. The chart on the bottom right shows service activities last year that exclude Burlington. So you can see a better picture of what kind of support we're providing to all of the partner agencies, not just Burlington. And that paints a little clearer picture. I think Graham there is that royal blue color, and you can see there's a good chunk of pet help support clients that we're serving here from Graham, as well as a few in probably every other category except, some of the more animal control focus like dangerous and that type of thing. But that gives you a bit of a good sense of what's happening there. And on the next slide, I have this same slide prepared for just Q1 of 2026. So you can get a snapshot of where we're at year to date. And that looks pretty similar to what we did for the whole year last year. So the variance there is not too big, but you'll see kind of where we're at and how many clients we're serving. It looks like there's around 20 folks we've helped out just in the city of Graham with some of the pet help support, protective custody type cases just in the first quarter this year. And next slide, we have the annual pet help support activities for all jurisdictions. So you can get a sense of our biggest need areas there. And obviously, again, the county, Burlington, Graham, and Mebane, similar to how we see the intake numbers as well. And then excluding those big outliers of Graham and Burlington and Alamance County, we can see that Graham, followed by Mebane, kind of is the leader in residents utilizing the pet help support services at Burlington Animal Services. And next slide, same thing, but just for the first quarter. And you can see that's pretty consistent there as well. And finally, I just wanted to have a few quick slides so you can get a sense of some of the activities we did last year. And in 2025, we sterilized 5,757 pets. Over 4,000 of those were sterilized at our Pet Adoption and Resource Center, and which is also now part of the BAS clinic, so we can serve public clients. Over 1,300 were sterilized at the Spay and Neuter Clinic of Alamance County. We had 310 clients that participated in the subsidized BAS Fix program, and over 1,800 cats through the Mighty Mousers program were sterilized. And on the next slide, we assisted over 1,700 families with pet food, emergency pet food assistance. Again, all of these pet help support things are not part of the reimbursements that our partners pay into the sheltering agreement. They're all part of donations and grants that we receive, including that's what funds Mighty Mousers, that's what funds our BAS Fix program, and it also funds all of the pet help resource, vet assistant, everything that we're doing to try to keep pets from coming in, that's all donor and grant supported. Everything else, once they come in our door, that's the taxpayer funding for the minimally required care that we need to do by the state. And so we're also doing pet help resource clinics. If you go back a slide, I wanted to just speak to that. We try to do a clinic in every partner jurisdiction throughout the year. So I think last year we were able to do 7 of those, and they've been really well attended because it's where often when we have a sponsor like Petco Love has been a sponsor for several of those clinics, we can get free vaccinations. And when we have a veterinarian available who can administer the core vaccines, people can get their core vaccines updated for their pets for free. And then we're always there with our rabies vaccinators to administer rabies vaccines for free or for a low fee, depending on if we have a sponsor. And so you can see that a lot of folks around the county are taking advantage of those opportunities. And we really try to get out there in locations where it may be harder to access vets. So we're usually, like last weekend, we were down in Snow Camp and I helped vaccinate because we didn't have a lot of staff available. And it's way on out there. And then sometimes we're way out in the north end of the county. And I think we've done a couple around in each municipality so far. So that's been, it's been really great that we've been able to provide that community service because it is part of public health that we're responsible for as well. And then on the next slide, you can see kind of a sense of how many pets our community is helping us with through fostering pets. Nearly 6,000 pets were fostered last year. Over 4,000 of them were outcome directly from the foster home, so they were able to find placement without having to come back into BAS. We had over 4,500 volunteer hours of people coming in to help care for the pets at BAS, and over 1,100 adventures participants where folks are coming to get a dog, taking them out to the local parks, and getting them out of their kennels for enrichment and help them get adopted. And this slide is just the next slide is a quick overview of our social media presence, so you can get a sense of how many people are kind of interacting with us digitally. And one of those pieces of that is we had over 2,500 visits with 1,500 visitors, unique visitors at our facility at Animal Services facility last year. So it stays pretty busy with clients. And if anyone has tried to call our office, it's often a challenge and a complaint that I always receive. They can never get through. They always have to leave a voicemail. And it's usually because our staff are busy helping people right in front of them at the front door. We have maybe 1 or 2 staff at our front area, 1 or 2 at intake, and they're solid all day long with customers. So it's really hard for them to be able to answer a live call and have to call folks back. But that's it. If you want to go to the last slide, that's kind of my closing slide. I mean, I always talk about our vision is where a future where every pet and person thrives together. And we're always working toward that in collaboration with the community, because no one agency can do it alone. We've all got to pool our collective efforts and work together to support each other, to support families and their pets. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Jess. Thank you for the work that you do. Also, both of my pups are from BAS, so I've got a soft spot in my heart for you guys. When you are talking about the numbers from Graham, is that the zip code, or do you
No.
zero in on the city limits?
Yes, so we
Okay.
have set it up, and that was something we worked in the beginning. I've been with Animal Services about 13 years now, but in the beginning, we weren't able to figure out like exactly the jurisdictional boundaries. So we were able to partner with GIS and our software program to make sure that the addresses in the system were coded, so we can tell exactly which municipal jurisdiction pets are coming from.
Okay, awesome. Can you talk a little bit about our upcoming contract? I know that the rate has increased. It feels like
It
the
has.
rate has proportionally increased for us versus other municipalities.
Yeah, it's based on the state sales tax reimbursement. That was the formula that managers have agreed upon using because it felt to be the most fair funding formula. When it's based on animal intake, that can be really dynamic year over year, and it also doesn't encapsulate all the other support services that we're providing. It's only one metric, and it can be disproportionate based on communities that are more economically challenged versus communities that maybe are more prosperous. You'll see there's a correlation with pet intake in those areas. So to make it a little more fair and based on revenues that the communities have available, we based it on the sales tax reimbursement model. So how that's calculated is whatever proportion of your municipal entities' state sales tax reimbursement you receive from the state each year, that is equal to your cost share for the animal services contract. And so if your share went up a little bit more this year compared to others, then that means Graham collected more sales tax revenue, which yay for Graham. Business is doing good downtown, and I'm a frequent contributor to that too. But yeah, so that's why you'll see variances year over year, because it is based on the state sales tax reimbursement number.
Sure. You mentioned a couple of times that you've surpassed care and staffing and are meeting some hard
Yes.
capacity things. In our future contract, is our police department able to bring stray dogs and cats?
Yeah, so we've
To
been
the
trying to work
facility.
with partners again to decide, what really needs to come in. And usually when law enforcement are bringing things to us, that means they really need to come in. They're not just out there picking up pets that, might live next door. They're usually picking up pets that are a public safety issue or causing a public danger. So yes, those we do want to bring
You are
in.
able to bring in
Yes.
stray dogs and
I
cats.
think that we've had a lot of pushback. It's been very challenging because sometimes, during this process of administering this intake triage, it can be confusing Sometimes when we're short-staffed, the message doesn't always get conveyed in an articulate way that helps people understand or maybe works through the solution so our staff fully are understanding the need. And so we're working to resolve some of those issues so that process can be a little smoother in the future. I know I've received several concerns recently that we're working through and reviewing some of those processes and staff training. We've also had a lot of staff turnover because the pressure is so great. It's a stressful job, and unfortunately, staff do turn over pretty quickly in those positions, and then it's starting from scratch to retrain folks, and it takes a lot. They're dealing with some really hard circumstances every day. People are coming a lot of times to surrender a pet, and tragedies happening in their families. So they hear a lot of really heartbreaking situations that they're dealing with. And yeah, so it's always a challenge there. And then on top of that, we have emergencies coming in. And so we really try to ask, the community if you can avoid picking up a dog as long as it's safe. If you're in a residential area, it probably belongs to a neighbor. Statistically, there's research studies that have proven that lost pets are typically within a mile from home. So we usually encourage folks, can you ask your neighbor, does it look like it may belong down your street? Maybe knock on a few doors, see if you can try to get it home. If not, yes, bring it in. And sometimes if it's not an emergency circumstance, if we're completely full, we have to say, we can't admit it right now, this very moment, but you could bring it in tomorrow or maybe in a couple days, and we can, in the meantime, help you with food, help you with resources. Can you foster it? So it's not just a cut and dry, like,
Or I think that situation
easy,
is really
yeah,
hard for our
complicated.
police department
It is hard,
specifically.
yeah.
Jim, did you have any questions?
Fine.
Ricky?
Yeah.
Bobby?
Yeah.
Bonnie?
I just wanted to reiterate what the mayor said. Thank you so much for what you do. I'm definitely an animal lover. They are much nicer than people. And I wanted to ask one question. When you're talking about admissions, what counts as an admission? Is it just like surrenders and strays? Or is it any animal that comes in, let's say, that has to be admitted for treatment and then released back to an owner? Do those count as well?
Yes, so all the
Okay.
above. So they're lost pets, owner surrendered pets, and usually owner surrenders are already in a home, so we triage lost pets over owner surrenders, unless it's, a true emergency circumstance that sometimes happens. Sometimes it's protective custody or cruelty cases where they have to be seized and removed from a property. Sometimes the intake is through our BAS clinic, where we admit a pet into our clinic for services, and then they're returned back to the owner at the end of the day to go home. So it's all of those things that are
Okay.
encompassing admissions that we're counting. What's not included in admissions are the folks that we're counseling with through our pet help support resources to keep those pets in their homes, that our field staff and pet help support staff are spending a lot of time doing counseling and providing like pet food resources or helping them get the pet to the vet and helping get that paid for with a donor. Those are not counted in and are reflected there, but they are in those activity numbers that you saw on that graph.
Well, again, thank you for what
Oh,
you
you're
do,
welcome.
and it's impressive how you've gotten the numbers of
It
deaths
is
down. I think
harder
it's really
every year.
impressive, so
It's very
thank you.
challenging.
Yes.
But thank you for your support.
Yeah.
Graham's been a great partner, and we've appreciated working with you all. And we know sometimes the road's not always easy. There's always bumps along the way, but we're appreciative to have partners that we can work through those things when they do happen and ultimately come to a better process going forward.
Thank you for your time. It's my understanding that we've got city staff meeting with you tomorrow. So I am interested in following up with our
Sure.
city staff after, just to hear how that conversation goes.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jess.
Looking
Thanks for
forward
your
to it.
time.
Thank you.
All right. Aaron, do you need your mouse back? Bob, can you reach his mouse? There's a couple of seats up here, guys, if y'all want to fill in. I don't need the mic. He just needs his mouse. Yeah. Thank you, Bob. All right. We have one add-on, that needs to be added on at the end, a closed session, for NC General Statute Section 143-318- or .11A 3, City of Mebane versus City of Graham, case number 25 CV 007-126-000. We'll add that on to the very end of the agenda. And I would also like to add on to the end of, right before closed session, to touch base on the grant funds. Is there anything else you guys want to add?
Well, for item 10,
10,
the discussion about
Alcovets.
Alcovets
Yes, sir.
being I'm an officer in
Can you-
Alcovets, I propose to recuse myself.
Okay. Can we discuss that when we get there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just bringing it.
Yeah,
Well-
I appreciate it. That's a little ways away. Can I need a motion, to adopt the agenda with those 2 added items.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt the agenda with the added items.
Okay. Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Unanimous, Ms. Renee? All right, moving on to consent agenda. I'm gonna read through them first and then we'll go through to discuss. A is the approval of meeting minutes for April 14th and then the closed session and then also the April 27th special meeting. B is to approve an audit contract for $33,150 for fiscal year June 2026. C is to approve a revision for the previously adopted ARPA-enabled project ordinance for $65,000. D is to approve a project ordinance in the amount of $2,200,000 for the Home Banks Ward, Holt, and Gilbert water line replacement project. E is to authorize staff to have a contract with Terracon Consultants for the spillway repair. F is to approve a 5-year contract extension with Motorola. That's for the police department. G is to approve a budget amendment in the amount of $212,660. This is for pre-purchasing some goods that inflation and other costs are going to go up significantly in the next year. H is to approve a budget amendment recognizing $7,000 in the state drug forfeiture revenue. I, to approve a budget amendment in the amount of $61,976 for contracted audit services with Cobb, Ezekiel, Loy and Company, and Stout, Stewart, McGowan, and King. J is to approve a budget amendment in the amount of $27,860 for NeoGov. That's a software for our HR department. K is to approve tax release in the amount of $18.37. And L is to approve the resolution in support of the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant application. Does anybody here have any questions about the consent agenda?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to pull items D and E.
D and E. I have a question for B and I. I would like clarification for those. And I've got a couple of notes to make about A. Is there anything else that y'all want to pull? If not, we'll start discussion there. Good? Okay. Starting with A, there was Renee on meeting minutes for April 27th. I just wanted to add on page 31, Chin also said no comment during the special meeting for the park. And then for the closed session minutes, I would like these to be voted into the public eye. This closed session was supposed to be a personnel meeting, but in actuality, it was a performance of my review, which is an improper use of a closed session. And so because of that, all of the performance reviews of our council should be done in the open. And so because this was a performance review of me, I vote that these should not be sealed anymore for closed minutes. Is my comments on A. Can you speak on your mic, Bob? Thank you, sir.
with respect to, to the remarks with respect to the closed session minutes, you've identified some or.
Bob, can you sit down and talk into your
Well,
mic? I'm
okay.
sorry. Thank you.
Given rise to some legal issues, I was asked that matter, be discussed in closed session pursuant to 143-318.11A3, that at the same time that to discuss the lawsuit. There's something I need to advise the council about in that connection. So,
Okay, and that's in closed session.
right.
Say it again, the statute,
It is same statute as the one with respect to the city of.
the legal.
Right.
Okay,
And Mayor Dickey and members of the council, if I may make a comment, I would like it noted for the record that I do not waive any right to my confidentiality regarding my personnel file as I'm entitled to under the law.
sure, absolutely.
Madam Mayor, I'm a little concerned, based on your description, whether it qualifies for the for a closed meeting.
Excuse me, is this a public hearing?
Well,
It's not, but I'm interested in what he's bringing up.
If the
Hold
discussion
on one second, Bonnie.
was about a member of the council, any member of the council, that is not allowed under the under the statute. It says right here, a public body may not consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, appointment, or removal of a member of the public body and may not consider or fill a vacancy. But in other words, in fact, I think I asked this at the time, whether it was regarding a employee, which is allowed almost always, versus a member of the council, which is never allowed.
The meeting was a continuation of a previous closed session that we had that was concerning. It was a personnel issue. And with all due respect, Mr. Boney, this is not an open session right now. And, you need to sit down because you're not allowed to speak right now.
Let me say this for the record. I'm perfectly familiar with the law that Mr. Boney recites. And this is a legal issue, not necessarily what he has identified as a legal issue that I need to talk with you about in that context. So.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Okay. So that's A. B and I. Megan, can you provide some clarification just because we've got $33,000 for the audit contract, and I understand that's June 2026, but then we've got an amendment of 61,000. Can you just provide some clarity there?
Absolutely. Item B is for an audit contract for the fiscal year as we sit currently. City Council has to award that contract to a qualified auditing firm. This work will take place after this fiscal year has been completed. It is not budgeted nor anticipated to be spent in fiscal year 26. It's included in the budget proposal before you for fiscal year 27. The work is just for fiscal year ending 26.
Okay.
That sufficiently answer B?
And I think it's confusing because B is only 33,000 and then we've got an amendment of 61,000. I understand that both firms are included in that, but it seems like significantly less for the year moving forward.
Yeah, they're two totally separate years. B is for next year. Item I is for the work that they did for fiscal year 25.
Okay.
That was presented to you at last month's meeting. We have two auditing firms, Cobb, Ezekiel, and Lloyd does the internal audit work, helps write the financial statements, and works with us on the management discussion and analysis. And Stout, Stewart, McGowan, and King does the external work because they have to maintain their autonomy and not be in the books, so to speak, and making entries.
Sure.
So that's
I
for
can-
fiscal year 25.
I can assume that Cobb, Ezekiel, and Loy is significantly more because if we're only spending 33,000, okay, so Cobb and Ezekiel Loy
Correct.
takes up the most. Okay, that's all I needed.
Mhm.
D and E, what would you like to pull?
Yeah. Can you, on E, is Medley going to cough up their costs?
Yeah, so that is a split cost, for the part that FEMA won't cover. We haven't received our award from FEMA as far as what part they are covering that spillway repair. But Mebane has been part of the process of selecting the contractor. Whatever amount isn't covered by FEMA will be split 50-50.
On, can you explain to us this water enhancement project?
Yes, so the home banks, wards, Hope, Gilbert water line replacements, that's part of our NWELP, our neighborhood water line enhancement program that we do, where we're replacing the old lines with obviously new lines. This is already an awarded, funded project. Because it runs into the next year, we have to establish a project ordinance so that we can carry the funds from this year that's already approved into next year.
Is this water line in some of the worst areas that we've got?
It's definitely some of our older areas. Generally speaking, the areas around the courthouse, northern part of Graham, those generally have your oldest lines in the city.
Okay.
Thanks, Aaron. Okay. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That was a 4-1 vote because I would like to take A out and everybody else passed it. It passed. Okay.
If I may ask for clarification on you said page 31, was that addition for Councilmember Chin with no comment? Did the city council members who voted for that, did you want that addition in there or not?
I make a motion, we add that in there.
Do you want a vote on that?
I think it would be helpful to have it as
Okay.
clear as possible.
Okay. A second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 That Chin had no comment is unanimously in there. Thank you, Megan. Okay, moving on to public hearings. Aaron, you good? Can you give us a little update?
All right, thank you, Mayor. Just going to recap. This was an item that was tabled from last month's agenda meeting. It was initiated by a citizen to ask for council to direct staff to look into adding accessory dwelling units as a use by right or in some form of an allowable use in our development ordinance where currently we do not allow them. Planning board recommend approval of the amendment with the revisions of dropping the maximum square footage for attached and detached ADUs from 1,600 to 1,200 square feet, requiring a minimum lot size of 20,000 square feet to allow for the ADUs, and that they to be served off of an existing private connection to the primary dwelling if capacity allows it.
Thank you, Aaron. Any clarifying questions from council? If not, I'll take a motion to open public hearing.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion, we open the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, the public hearing for the accessory dwelling units is now open. If anyone has anything to say, they are welcome to come forward. Hello, can you say your name and address, please, ma'am?
Yes, my name's Maria Clapp. I live at 2217 Whitsett Street. I have an office in downtown Graham, but I'm here on behalf of the Burlington Alamance County Association of Realtors. I have some info. Can I hand y'all this? Some
Absolutely.
data.
Thank you, Maria.
Aaron, could you reset her time while she's handing that out?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
As I said, I'm Maria. I'm here on behalf of the Realtor Association. We feel that there is a housing crisis in Alamance County. We need to look at this when we're doing our UDOs. ADUs are a big part of that. I'll start at the beginning here where I've gave you this information.
Did it kick off?
Yeah, I think
I'm
I
sorry.
might have bumped a button or something, maybe.
Okay. Bob, can she have your mic? We can hear you. We just want YouTube to hear you too.
Bob?
See if that'll work for you.
Okay, I'll try not to touch it.
Sorry, Bob. Didn't mean to steal your mic.
Right. The first sheet is some average annual salaries for some of our workforce. As you can see, in order to afford fair market rent in Alamance County of $1,217 a month, in 2025, you had to make $23.40 an hour. In 2026, the fair market rent went up to $1,348 for a 2-bedroom, and now you have to make $25.92. Okay, so those are big numbers. 1 in 4, according to the guidelines, your housing should cost no more than 30% of your income. That's including utilities. So 1 in 4 of our Alamance County residents are cost burdened today. Area median income for Alamance County is $65,600. The majority of the houses that are being built on any lot is minimum of $300,000, and that's a 3-2. And you can see a couple of them from right here in Graham, 2 3-2s that are built or being built. $297,000 for a 1,200 square foot 3-2. To afford a $300,000 home, to stay under the 30% guideline, you have to make $88,000. Your household income needs to be $88,000. Now, our median household income is $65,000. So, affording a house in Alamance County is tough. How do we fix that? How do we partner with municipalities to make it where it is feasible for you to build a smaller house on a smaller lot? And ADUs are a big thing. That's not me. Okay.
Yeah, talk a little bit more because the mic
Okay.
situation.
But ADUs are huge because if you can put an ADU, if you've got to have 20,000 square foot lot to put an accessory dwelling unit for your mom or your 20-year-old son who's got a job, just got out of school and got a job and he's making 40 grand, he can't afford to live in Alamance County. So there's a lot of singles, there's a lot of teachers they can't afford. And this conversation will continue. Y'all were my first. So thank y'all for being here and thank y'all for allowing it. But I appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. Anybody else interested in speaking? Come on up. We got a new mic for you too, just for you.
All right, thank you.
Name and address, please. Oh, we got stuff. Come on up.
More
I
stuff,
love it.
more paperwork. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, sir.
Hi, my name is Harold Daniels. I live in Gibsonville, actually. And I'm here with the Alamance Burlington Association of Realtors. And I'm on the same committee, Affordable Workforce Housing Committee. Anyway, like Ms. Slapp said, our goal is to try to provide affordable housing. We have a big need for vets in Alamance County and the surrounding areas to have affordable housing. We just have to figure out how to do that and how to get it done. And it's like she said, we need help from the municipalities. The housing, if you look at the chart, from 1992 to 2024, 32-year period, our population went from just under 110,000 to over 180,000, just in Alamance County. So the housing need is great. Manufacturing is coming in. We're trying to get all these businesses to come in and manufacturing, and we have nowhere for them to live. Going back to the ADU, you had indicated that you were looking at 1,600 square feet on 20,000 square foot lot. That's almost a half acre lot. There's not many city lots in Mebane that have that can even put another dwelling on it. You guys have a chart that's showing about a 400 square foot home, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, living room, kitchen, would be perfect for elderly adults. Kids need to put them in a nice place to live without the expense of retirement centers. So think about the square footage of the lot and see if you can bring that down and if that would work any to make it a little bit better. So, all right.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Would anybody else like to speak on ADUs? Yes, sir. You didn't bring any papers for us, did you, Eric? Name and address, please.
My name is Eric Crispin. I live at 208 Albright Avenue. I'd like to throw a new wrinkle out. If I have space on my lot, regardless of the zoning, to put a 200 square foot or 300 square foot outbuilding, a garage, a workshop, and easily get a permit, why couldn't that be an ADU? It'd be hooked to the same power line, hooked to the same sewer line. It would not be any additional expense for the fire department because they're going to service my garage or my outbuilding anyway, because it meets the setback, it meets all the zoning requirements, but it would be an inhabitable house for somebody to live in, regardless of the lot size. If you could zone, you could zone an outbuilding of that size, you ought to be able to zone a house of that size. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Would anybody else like to speak on that? Come on up.
Jeff Bennis, I live at 1407 East Gilbert Street. Accessory dwelling units is another way to say high-density housing. And I'm going to pose the same question to you that I've posed the same question to the City Planning Committee, which I am now starting to go to. Where do you want Graham to go to? All right? Quality of life we have now or high-density housing? You approve accessory dwelling units or high-density housing? What about sidewalks? What about increased crime? What about more trash on the roads? I mean, how many of you drive down Main Street at 5 o'clock on a Friday? All right, it's like being in Atlanta. So let's not, and I understand, we want to provide good housing for, less economic conditions, all right? These things aren't going to be selling for $20,000 a piece, all right? But the real question is, where do you want Graham to go and what do you want Graham to be? And all the baggage that goes along with accessory dwelling units or high-density housing. You got to think about that. Thank you.
I just want to clarify real quick, Jeff. I don't think ADUs are something that get sold because they're on the same lot. So it would be somebody that you want to live there.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
you're still going to have people living there. You're
Sure,
going
it's
to have more
extra
people
people.
coming in. All the baggage still goes with it, right?
Thank you.
And
I just,
don't kid yourself. Someone will find a way how to sell it down the road.
sure. Come on forward.
So again, my name's Molly Whitlatch. I live at 531 North Main Street, and I don't oppose the ADU ordinance for all the reasons that the previous speakers mentioned about the need for housing. My specific concern that I had asked the planning board to consider and that I would ask the council to consider is a situation where there's a shared driveway. So my house, I share a driveway with my neighbor. It's a very small driveway. And if there were 1,200 square foot ADUs on both of their lots, we have large lots, but that would increase the number of cars significantly. And it's not so much an issue of whether we have, legal access. We do have a legal, permitted easement. But if my neighbor does something that directly impacts my ability to get in and out of the driveway, then I would ask that the council consider some provision where, I don't know if you accept that out or require the neighbor to agree to it, but it could create a situation where it would be very difficult for us. Even as it stands, just with the few cars that we have between my house and my neighbor's house, we're constantly texting each other to let, the plumber's coming, it's going to block the driveway, and we have to work together. So that would just be difficult if there were 4 buildings or 4 residents on that piece of property. So if you could consider that, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Molly. Come on forward. I'm sorry. I was watching too. Name and address, please.
Nathan Bittinger, and I live at 2743 Cliffview Drive. And so I'm representing 2 different perspectives in this,
Okay.
both as a builder and knowing that there's been some clients, some good people that would like to have had some buildings in the city limits that, we've turned down, but also from the perspective of we are a multi-generational house. And I live with my in-laws because we take care of them. My father-in-law has a traumatic brain injury, so he's in a wheelchair, and then my mother-in-law has hurt herself taking care of him. And so we do that dual responsibility, and I love them to death. But having an accessory dwelling would be, a little bit less stress on those that are taking care of the generation above us, that giving them their own space, giving us their own space, as they get frustrated with their grandkids because teenagers can have their own issues, and we get frustrated. It's like we're parenting our parents, and so there's that aspect as well. And so it just gives a little more freedom, and it gives just another option too, with the parameters, the correct parameters and the correct guidelines, because of the driveway issues, because of what it looks like, because, all the rules or the codes could be set that it had, for example, it has to match, it has to blend in, those types of examples.
Sure.
So that's my aspect of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Ian Baltutis, 702 West Davis Street, Burlington. I wasn't planning to speak on this, but as a master city planner, I appreciate y'all putting this on the agenda. ADUs represent a wonderful tool to add to the toolbox to address affordable housing. It's something that no single tool solves, but it's more important to enable yourself and, more importantly, the property owners in your community to have every means available to address this challenge. I've served on the same committee as Ms. Clapp and Mr. Daniels. And we've been mulling this over for quite a while. I think ADUs represent that key piece to, one, allow folks to age in place in the property they already own, at the same time creating affordability for folks who would like to live in the community in a means that creates a softer density than other types of development. So as you look at how to actually fine tune that ordinance, there's wonderful examples all around us. None of the concerns brought up tonight are insurmountable. I would love for y'all to consider ADUs. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Come on forward.
My name's Eric Boyer. I'm at 2755 Darrell Newton Drive. As far as ADUs and the lot size requirements, Maria and I, we are part of that same committee. 1,200 square feet is a giant ADU, or 20,000 square feet lot. So I'd like to see kind of a sliding scale as far as that lot size requirements. For instance, if it's 800 square foot, maybe it's a 16,000 square foot requirement, and so on and so forth. Just because I don't see a lot of 1,200 square foot ADUs, I see them more as 400, 600, 8, 1, 2 people. But that's all.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Come on forward. Name and address, please.
Jennifer Talley, 808 Sadview Street, Graham. Thank you, council. I'm here to talk a little bit about accessory dwelling units. This has come up in the past, and our city engineer got up and looked at our infrastructure and had recommended the council that they not pass any ordinances regarding ADUs. So I asked the council to please consult with the engineers in regards to that. ADUs are often criticized for altering neighborhood character, increasing density and straining infrastructure like parking and sewage. While some advocate for removing development fees, others argue that waiving these development fees, that's the one fund, the one bit of money that the city actually gets, which is necessary for the city infrastructure improvements that are required under this new high density. So in the past, when a developer decides to build, he has to pay a development fee. But with ADUs, they're basically circumventing that fee, but you're having to supply double the water, double the sewer, double the infrastructure costs, trash pickup, leaf pickup, all of that, and getting nothing for it, essentially. No fees whatsoever come into the city. This isn't my opinion. I always try to research and really try to get everybody's, but both liberal community, pro-housing community, conservative community, they all are very, very critical of ADUs. And I'll tell you why. So I do think we have a housing, we need to be looking at as many housing options as we have. I would just argue that this isn't the solution. Increased density from ADUs puts a lot of pressure on parking, water, sewer, electrical services, which critics argue warrant development fees to fund. And you can go and do your own research, but the Tenor Center for Housing Innovation, the city receives absolutely nothing when thousands of ADUs are built, but these ADUs cost the city money. They require water, sewer, trash pickup, additional parking. Little to no new money comes into the city. These concerns, there's also concerns from residents about reduced privacy, increased traffic, noise, changes to the traditional single-family nature of these neighborhoods. Some opponents argue that waiving the fees for ADUs is also inequitable. It doesn't adequately pay for infrastructure, and the developers that are building and are paying those development fees, you shift the burden from them to say, oh, well, maybe I could go save money by just building all these structures in people's backyards. And the wealthy disparity is because ADUs often require high construction costs, usually over $100,000. They're typically built by affluent homeowners using home equity, which may not effectively address overall housing affordability. Concerns on the loss of privacy and reduced on-street parking are also top complaints from residents. So just ask that you please research this. The League of Municipalities does not advocate. In fact, they fought the legislature on trying to pass something, and I ask that you please at least wait till the state legislature researches this. They have access to attorneys, engineers,
Thank you, Jennifer.
contractors, and
Appreciate it.
refer to them. Elon passed it, and then they had to back down, and they just voted down ADUs 5-0.
Hello.
Hello.
Name and address, please.
Ethiel Estes. I live at 3368 Southern High, Mount Herman Road in Graham. Accessory dwelling units, sometimes called granny flats, they can create more affordable housing. They can help seniors age in place. They can support multi-generational living, which I'm a product of. I was raised by my grandmother, who was born before women had the right to vote. I'm thankful for that. It can help homeowners financially. It can use existing infrastructure. It can reduce urban sprawl because it adds more affordable housing options. It creates more diverse neighborhoods. And I agree, there are always concerns that you can't do something without acknowledging concerns: parking, neighborhood character, short-term rental issues, infrastructure strain, poorly designed or overcrowded lots. That's why regulations matter. Owner occupancy requirements, size limits, design standards. I agree, you have to think about it. The goal is balance, adding flexibility without losing what people love about their neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak? All right. All right, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right. Bonnie, let's start with you. What are your thoughts?
I think that ADUs will not solve the housing crisis that we have, first of all. I think very often they get built, and then when whoever was intended to live there moves out, we have the possibility it becomes an Airbnb, a rental, whatever. It changes the entire look of neighborhoods. It can't-
Sorry, can I stop you right there? Just because I want to make sure we're talking about this ordinance.
Yes.
And in that ordinance, it says they're not allowed to be Airbnbs
Yeah.
and things like that. So just making sure we're talking about what's
I know what it
proposed.
says, but I also know what people do, so I'm just gonna say, people don't always follow the rules. I'm just saying. So I don't like dense housing, and I don't like squeezing more, housing onto already smaller lots. I know, they had said a half acre or whatever, but, I don't think the city benefits from it at all. We don't get any kind of developer fees on the developer side. We get nothing out of it as far as, it doesn't give us any revenue. It does not help the city. I know that the planning board recommended approval. But we don't always do what the planning board says, even though, it's been suggested that we take that as a blank check. We do not. I do not. I happen to disagree with the planning board on this. I am not in favor of it, and I will not vote for it.
Bobby?
I agree that ADU is not the answer. When government gets involved in trying to define a process and procedures and ordinances, somebody will find a way to circumvent it. I'd rather go the approach, as was mentioned by one of the speakers, that somebody has property and they're considering to build, as she said, a grandmother suite. I think neighbors talk to neighbors. If they agree, then they petition a conditional rezoning of their property to build that unit versus having an ordinance defining, okay, it's got to be within this size on a piece of property of another size, case by case. I mean, Graham, we all, you drive around Graham, homes are built on large properties, but as soon as you start defining requirements to build something, somebody will find a way to circumvent the requirements. So I think when you try to define it, you're setting yourself up for getting everything that you don't want to happen. And so I would oppose establishing an ADU procedure or ordinance.
I apologize. I'm going to have to pause real quick because I have a list of all the people that have emailed in that needed their comments recorded, and I've got ahead of myself. So this says, "Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and city staff. Thank you for taking this time to consider adjusting Graham's existing ordinance to include accessory dwelling units or ADUs. I sincerely apologize that I'm not able to attend tonight's meeting in person, but I wanted to ensure my voice was on the record in strong support of adding this amendment to our local zoning ordinance. As both a resident of Graham and a local builder, I view this as a critical topic for the future of our community. Through my work as a small local builder, I have seen firsthand the pressing need for this type of housing. The ADUs offer a practical, low-impact solution for two very specific demographics in our area: our aging population who wish to downsize and age in place near their families, and our younger population who are currently struggling to find attainable housing options in a challenging market. While I'm thrilled that the city is moving forward with this conversation, I do have one significant concern regarding the current proposal. Based on my understanding from discussions, the planning board members' current draft of the ordinance would restrict ADUs strictly to lots that are 20,000 square foot or larger. Having personally built ADUs here in Graham, as well as surrounding communities like Mebane and Burlington, experience tells me that 20,000 square foot minimum will unintentionally shut the door on the vast majority of homeowners who would benefit most from this ordinance. It is simply too restrictive for a town of our density. Instead, I strongly encourage the council to consider making ADUs permissible on all residential lots zoned R7 and larger. So long as reasonable property line setbacks are met and a safe code-compliant separation between the primary resident and the ADU is maintained, there is no practical reason to restrict these units only to half-acre lots. Proper setbacks and separation requirements will naturally dictate what a lot can safely hold, protecting the character of our neighborhoods without utilizing an arbitrary lot size cutoff. Allowing the ADUs on R7 lots and above will foster responsible, thoughtful growth and provide immediate relief to our residents seeking flexible housing solutions. Thank you again for your time, your service to the City of Graham, and your thoughtful consideration of this adjustment. Respectfully submitted, Jensen Roll. So our next public hearing, which we won't jump to yet, but has a lot of information on our aging population. The age range 55 to 64 grew 52%, and the age 65 and plus grew over 37%, and that's on page 19 of the land use plan, just to give you some data. We also, in Maria's first handout, it says you've got to make $54,000 to get secure housing in this economy. In our land use draft plan, it states that the median household income in Graham is $45,000. I think this, like a lot of our speakers said, it's not the solution. I agree with you, Bobby. It's not the solution, but it is a step in the right direction to allow this. Now, I think this is like a lot of things. When we allow them, people aren't going to rush the permit doors and start building them. We're not going to see a boom of ADUs overnight, but I think it's a step in the right direction to take care of our community and address a housing need in Alamance County that we know that we have. I also think that, like a lot of people said with the minimum lot size, we have setbacks in place. And I think we have some pretty good setbacks in place as far as they're doing their job. They're making sure our communities look nice. We can take away some of the requirements that were requested, like the lot size, and let the setbacks do their job. But I do think this is a crucial next step for providing affordable housing in our community for our aging population, especially because it's growing by leaps and bounds, but also the younger generation. Ricky, do you have any thoughts?
No, I disagree with Chelsea. I'm sorry. I don't see how this right here is going to help anybody but make real estate agents wealthy. That's just my thoughts on this.
Can you explain how it would make real estate agents wealthy?
Because you're going to have people who have rental income. They're going to go in and they're going to start building these ADUs.
But how does that make real estate?
That's all the comments I got about it.
Okay. Hold on, guys. I got this. Thank you. Jim, do you have any comments?
Do I see a need for these kind of developments? Yes. But it's, I'm a little, I'm still kind of up in the air about it because, I mean, what's wrong with having a development for these instead of just putting them in just because you have room in your backyard to put one?
Can you say more about that? A development for these? What does
You
that
know,
mean?
like a subdivision, a single, subdivision of ADUs.
I don't,
Why not?
because 80, that's not, I'm sorry, that's not how ADUs work?
Well, that's,
But
I mean.
Are you
if
saying like,
are-
are you saying like everybody has a primary house and a house out back in a subdivision?
No.
Okay, can you say what you, because I'm,
Just, well, just the last meeting we had, of course, it was just to approve a road closure so a developer could fix the road. And then that developer is gonna end up taking a neighborhood that has been there for 50, 60 years and put twice the houses on his property that were intended when that development was started. And you want to hear from all the people, and those people came and spoke, and we see that a lot when these older developments, and because there happens to be some empty lots and the developer looks at it and they see dollar signs and they want to put as many houses on one little squat area as they can. And I know there's a need for this. I just don't know if this would solve it. I don't want to say conflicted because it doesn't affect me personally, but I just keep, I think about those people that live in those already developed areas and, they have empty lots and the developer takes and wants to do that. I'm just not seeing it. I'm not this way. I think like, Bobby's idea about, approving it as it comes along. Don't have an issue with that. If somebody wants to, if they have the space and want to put it up for their elderly parents or then I have no issue with that, if it coming up for approval as needed. I don't have an issue with that. I can't approve this the way it is right now.
I think a lot of our speakers have tried to make it personal. But I mean, I considered doing this with my aging grandmother to build something out back so that she
But-
could be near.
Well, why do we have to have an ordinance to give you approval to build an ADU versus you coming in and as Eric Christman said, I would like, you come and propose, I want to build an 800 square foot unit that I'm going to move either my grandparents or my parents or my kids to live in. And you come before the planning, or actually, if your lot is large, it says, hey, and your neighbors have no issue, you come before the planner says, here's what I'm proposing to build. Why do we need to have a government ordinance defining what you can build?
In my opinion, having an ordinance would,
Have the government sticking their fingers in how you do your business.
I was actually going to say that it would allow more people to more easily access this. It's not something that you have to come and present before planning board and come before us. And it's not,
That's the pitfall. If it's in the ordinance and you satisfy the requirement of the ordinance, you cannot you can do that and your neighbors can't stop you.
and also we control the ordinance. So if that's
But
something,
like anything else.
but I want to clarify really quick, Bobby.
Here's
I want to clarify something.
Hold on,
I'm
please.
going to ask you a question, Bobby.
No, I want to answer the
No,
question
I'm
here.
going to ask you, are you saying that you want to have ADUs come before council? Is that the way that you want to deal with it? Okay, what do you want to call it?
Why does it have to have a name? I want to build a small residence. Why does it need to be called an ADU?
Small residence.
Or I'm going to build a shed, it's going to be a workshop. I'm just saying, when we start trying to define what you can do on your property, when you age out, you die, somebody else buys your land, and they decide, I want to turn, I got enough property here. Oh, the ordinance says I can build an additional unit here. Then, hey, you're complying with the ordinance, so you build something. And now you got two properties there. Wasn't intended to be that way. But when you can't stop an owner, said, oh, I want to buy, the new owner, build they can build another dwelling.
Yeah.
Whether you call it an ADU or not, another dwelling on the property.
Okay, I think we're going around in circles.
Well,
What I'm hearing from council, and we can take a formal vote because that was a hearing, but I'm hearing that Bobby would rather have each case come before council to be
not
considered.
council, it goes before the planning.
Planning board. I do want to take a minute and thank the planning board for your work on this because I was there and you put a lot of work in this. I don't take your recommendations lightly.
Neither do I. I just happen to disagree.
What's the ADU, what is the, are they all just one standard size or are there multiple sizes?
So on this ordinance that we have from our planning board, it came in as, oh, I got off the wrong thing. It has to be on a 20,000 square foot lot right now. And then they can't exceed 50% of the heated gross floor area of the primary residence or 1,200 square feet. So they've dictated, if you have a 2,000 square foot house, you can't build an ADU bigger than 1,000 square foot, and it has to be in the side or the backyard. Like they've got it all laid out here.
Okay, so going with this handout, this same house that they're asking $297,400 for, which is 1,228 square foot. So if you take that and you put it in somebody that has a 3,500 square foot house, they happen to have a yard big enough for that. You're telling me that that is going to be affordable, even though when it's on here on this sheet, it's not considered affordable.
We're not saying that they buy the whole thing. We're saying that their grandparents who would have to buy another 300,000 square foot house instead get to invest 80,000 and build an ADU in the backyard.
Well, that's what I'm asking. If they could build, if the children of the elderly couple that you're wanting to put in your backyard, if they have a 3,000 square foot house and enough property, they could put this same size house that they're asking almost $300,000 for. What if the ADU can be built that same size, why can't this house right here be built to meet the same cost as an ADU? I mean, are these prefab? Are they coming in on wheels or?
You also have to buy the land. Like this one.
Who's got to buy I'm not, okay, I'm talking.
No, I'm
the
saying
dwelling.
this.
About the dwelling. Okay, I got.
So this
Got it.
house is the 300,000 because it's land plus house. With an ADU, you don't have to buy land because you own the lot.
You see the tax value on the house?
Yeah, I do see the tax value on the house.
A little crazy. It just, I totally see.
It was also built in 2025, so I bet that that's going to be reevaluated pretty quickly.
Again, I tend to agree with Bobby about, look, that's what we do. If someone wants to do this, to help their elderly parents out and I have no issue. That's what we do. That's what we were elected to do, to approve these things. And if, we did it as an as-needed basis, well, it's not putting us out. That's what we're here for. We're here for these people out here. If they want to do that in their backyard, why pass an ordinance and then you don't know what you're, I'm sorry, the zoning, why handle that where we don't have a say-so in it? And we do have some way of controlling where it goes, and just do it on an as-needed basis.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
That's what we're here for.
We can't.
Do you have a
So
motion?
I don't want to see like a carte blanche,
We can
like
do that now.
ordinance that's just gonna allow people that meets these requirements to just do this. I think it's not a good idea. We know that Elon, tried this and ended up walking it back. I think somebody said that, because they got a lot of pushback from the community. That we're not happy when they saw these things just going up. They weren't happy. The state of North Carolina has received tremendous pushback because they tried to pass something. And we know, of course, well, they can't pass a budget, so not too worried about it right now. And they have to have several votes in both houses before something even goes to the governor's desk anyway. I think it would be prudent for us to watch what the state is doing, keep an eye on it. Because what we don't want is for the state to put out something that we really don't agree with. Okay, that they could word it in such a way that it could hurt us. But I think we have plenty of time to watch for that because their votes take forever. I agree with Bobby, I think they've been done on a case-by-case basis, and I don't see anything wrong with continuing to do it that way for now. And that would be my recommendation. I just don't think it's, I'm not happy, with just providing a carte blanche. Here's your ticket, and if your yard's big enough and this, that, and the other, I don't feel comfortable with that. I don't think it is going to solve anything. And again, it's not like we're closing the door on it for everybody. They could still come before planning board and,
Sure. Would you
ask.
mind making a motion?
I would not. I'd
Thank
be happy to. Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we deny the text amendment for accessory dwellings.
I need a second.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Me. 4-1. Thank you, Renee. All right. Future land use plan. I first of all wanted to say thank you to our planning board. You guys, this is 70-some pages and they went through everything and it took hours and hours. So thank you guys. Aaron, you want to intro us in?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And again, I echo the thanks to the planning board, Chairman Ward. I know they went through with a fine tooth comb there, and I know he and I had a couple conversations as it relates to getting the wording right, because, the words are important. You definitely want to make sure that you reflect in ground in these documents. We do have Sam Stalder with the PTRC here to sort of speak on sort of how these plans come together and the mechanics of it. Usually these plans are updated about 5 to 10 years because you're trying to reflect the growth patterns and economic movements within your city. For Graham in particular, we had, from the last time that we had a comp plan done, we had tremendous growth, especially with the dissolving of the Southern Loop. That area around Lacey Hope, Rogers Road area opened up a lot of development. So the plan that you see before you tonight that you're looking at sort of reflects that, where before it didn't take all that into account because that was a couple years after the plan was put in place back 2015, 16, somewhere around that time frame. So we also had other growth areas within the city with the Commerce Park that's in the Hallfields area down on Cherry Lane area. We had growth in the Jim Minor area, as well as annexation of nearly 1,000 homes in that area that were built that weren't reflected from the past comp plan. So I definitely want to say to the planning board that they did look at all the growth that we had to make sure that what's being reflected in the future land use plan going forward also captured the growth that we've had since then and the expectation for distribution, warehousing, as well as residential, commercial, and strip centers going forward. So I do want to turn it over to Sam. I don't want to take too much of what he may want to say, but I did want to point that out.
Thank you, Aaron. Hey, Sam. Thanks
Hey.
for being here.
Yeah, no problem. I'm Sam Stalder. I'm a regional planner with the Piedmont Triad Regional Council. I actually picked up this plan towards the end of the process, but just to give a quick overview of the process, it starts out, we come together with a steering committee, which is community members from all over Graham. And we have a series of 4 steering committees throughout the process. The process is about a year, sometimes longer. This one was longer. And through that process, we work with the steering committee to set up ways to collect community input. We had 201 survey responses from a survey that we put out in collaboration with that steering committee. We also attended public events. One of note was the Thursdays at 7 concerts. So we had a table in at a couple of those. And we ask people what they would like Graham to look like in the future, and like what they think of the development now and how it could go in the future. And we collect all that data and gather and collect it over a year, and then put that together into the document that you see now. So yeah, I don't have a whole presentation.
No, that's great.
Yeah, I'm just
If you're,
here to answer questions.
yeah, if you're okay, we'll open the public hearing and then we might bring you back up for questions.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
problem.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam. Do y'all have, sorry, council, did y'all have any questions for Sam before we open?
Not at the moment. I
Okay,
don't.
I apologize about that.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion, we open the public hearing.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. The public hearing for the land use plan is now open. Does anybody have anything to say?
Jeff Bennis, 1407 East Gilbert Street. I haven't read the plan. I just saw it on the agenda. I'm going to make a general comment, and I'm working with the city planning council as well. You have, and we have something very, very special here in Graham. It's a really, really, really neat place to live. All right. I love living here. All right. Very special. Once we screw it up, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Okay. I'm tensely discussing with the planning department now on alternate Tuesdays about a project that they want to put in on the corner of Moore Street and Hanford. All right. And there's a Miss Huey who lives there and a neighbor. You drive down that little drive, it's like walking into the Garden of Eden back there. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. All right. And a developer has come and bought a piece of property from her daughter, all right, with the promise of what they were going to build there. And when they made the presentation, now they're presenting to put on mini homes. Mini homes. You know what a mini home is? It's a 400 square foot home. It's smaller than this room. All right. And they come on wheels, right? It's worse than a trailer park. And he told the council that he had permission right of way to put water and sewer down her property. And she was sitting in the back of the room. He didn't know that. He's lying to the council right there. And she finally got up and she says, yeah, we met and I told him over my dead body. All right. And it's on 6 acres of land and they want to put 27 homes on there, 17 of them being mini homes. All right. All right. And right on the corner where I live on Gilbreth and Ivy, the planning board and this council with the former mayor, approved 29 townhomes to be put on 6 acres of land, right on that corner, all right? And nobody did their homework as to how many traffic accidents happen there, how many kids are on the road waiting for the buses, all right? And how many people are walking down that road wearing their Taco Bell uniforms, walking to work because they don't have a car, all right? So again, general comment, once we screw it up, there's no going back. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak about the land use plan?
Thank you. I get 3 more minutes.
Come on up.
Okay.
Public hearing after this.
Yeah. Land use plan. Okay, wonderful. 29
I'm sorry.
townhomes.
Name and address one more time for,
Maria Clapp, 2217 Whitsett Street.
thank you.
Okay, 29 new townhomes, and the reason they're walking to Taco Bell and they can't afford a car is because they spending way too much money on the housing. 29 small homes would be fantastic for Graham. Don't know what the plan is for that, but when you're looking at the ODU, okay, or the UDO, sorry, if you're looking at that, please take into consideration that you said, well, I told you a $300,000 house is going to cost somebody $2,100 a month. That's with the 6% interest. That's financing 300,000. That's $2,100 a month. 1,800 for your principal and interest, $300 for your taxes and insurance, and that's with the current Graham rate of 29 cents. I know that's going up, so that will go up. So that's $25,000 a year they're going to pay for that $300,000 house. When your firemen make 46, your teachers might make 35. Do you want your teachers living in your community? Do you want your teachers, your firemen living in your community? Do you want them driving from somewhere else to come here to live? I don't think so. I think you want to have some housing for them. And the only way to get that housing is to build smaller units and require smaller lots for those smaller units. The current cost to tap into your utilities for a 3-bedroom home is $2,000 to tap water, $2,000 to tap septic. Y'all might not know this. I have the numbers. Plus a connection fee of $1,650 for water and $1,650 for septic. Okay, so right there you're looking at $5,400 just to tap in. Okay, that don't include running it to your house. So you're going to get your money back for the paying for the water and the sewer. The ADU, you're going to get your money back with the water and sewer they do consume. Tax values will increase. You'll get more money in tax with the ADU because the value of the property is going to increase. Just please look at building smaller units, allowing the fees, the zoning regulations, the lot size, minimum lot sizes, or prohibiting affordable housing for people who do not make, like I said, $88,000 a year to afford a $300,000 house. Where are those people living now? Where are the people living that when the houses were 150 and they could afford them, you know, now they're 300 and they can't afford them anymore.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak on the land use?
Yes.
Name and address, please, sir.
Tom Boney, with the Alamance News, 114 West Elm Street in Graham. I believe the assistant city manager said these projects come up about every 5 to 10 years. Therefore, this is my every 5 to 10 year caution to the council. I've seen these, I follow these in each city that our newspaper covers, which is primarily Graham, Burlington. And I bring this caution every time. I know the answer to my first question, which is, were any of the property owners whose land was envisioned as some different kind of zoning area in the future notified that their property was being considered to be different in the future? The answer is inevitably no. And so this part, you all weren't here the last, I don't think any of you were here the last time this was done, but the problem is you're going to experience the results of it every time. People come in and they say, nobody told me that they were going to put multifamily, fill in the blank of which kind they don't like, multifamily, industrial, commercial, on my property or next door to my property or around the block or close by, because nobody was ever given notice. I think this is a fundamental flaw and shortcoming in these projects. If it were being rezoned, state law requires that you notify people that you have a rezoning pending. But for these land use plans, there's no such requirement. I think there should be. That's a different issue, which I would urge the legislature, the General Assembly, to include as a requirement. But the fact that they weren't included, I mean, for instance, the description given was that you had 200 maybe surveys, contacted some people at the Thursdays at 7. The problem is with a city our size, that's an anemic reaction or response to the plan. Anemic. And so, and the problem is most of the people don't know that they might be affected. They're not told that their acreage or what's close by them might be being changed. They have no reason to turn out at any meeting or come to a council meeting or anything else, because they don't know what is on the horizon for them. I think this is a very great problem, one that y'all are going to experience in the next several years as people bring projects to do these things on different land uses, and people coming before you to complain that nobody told them.
Thank you, Tom. Would anybody else like to speak? Okay. Oh, one more. Come on up.
Hello, my name's Victoria Beamer. I have a medical clinic at 207 North Marshall Street. And it's made for patients over the age of 65. It's my first time speaking with you also. Thank you for the time. Our city slogan says that the Graham is the city for living. But I believe that we must develop systems for living well. For residents to live well, they must have a safe place that's reliable and also reliable accessibility to healthcare and community spaces, specifically talking about sidewalks. Currently, the infrastructure in North Graham does not reflect this value. We have gaps in safe access that make it difficult for residents and neighbors to navigate the area safely on foot. As we prepare for growth, these gaps will only become more pronounced unless we address them head on. With Preservation Alamance recognition for the month of May, we are reminded that our history is our strength. However, maintaining our historic value isn't just about preserving architecture, it's also about preserving old modes of transportation, like the ability to walk downtown, to school and back home safely. I urge the council to strongly consider the recommendation on page 6, but I would add a consideration to finish the sidewalk from East Gilbreth Street down North Marshall Street through the National Historic District. Let's ensure that as we grow, we are building a city where living well is a reality for every person on every street, and that new sidewalks aren't just for the new residents or new neighborhoods. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'm going to take a minute and read another comment that was emailed into us. This is from Jerome, 205 Albright Avenue. He says, May is Preservation Month, and as the National Trust for Historic Preservation says, the places that make us who we are deserve to be celebrated and protected. As our planning document notes, what makes Graham special, the special place that we love, and that it gives it a small town feel that we all cherish is the two nationally recognized historic districts. We have the Graham Historic District and the Graham North Main Street District. The Graham Historic District composes our downtown core, is protected by the Historic Resources Commission, has a historic facade grant program, is supported by our tree board, and is included in our sidewalk development program. The North Main Historic District is composed of over 101 historic residential homes. These homes give our town the wonderful feel of small town that we call home. Many of the streets are tree-lined, approachable, and call out to be walked down. The homes vary in scale and size and support home ownership for a variety of incomes, part of the defining characteristic of a healthy community. Our planning document notes the North Main Street Historic District, but offers little to support it. Currently, the only protection or encouragement to maintain this historic district that homeowners are offered are the state and federal tax credits that go with the designation as a recognition of the National Historic District. The proposed planning document as currently written does not include any ways of supporting or protecting the important and vibrant historic district. It could do this in a variety of ways. 1, supporting the planting of trees. Many of our trees have aged out, died, and need to be replaced. 2, a matching grant program that encourages and enables homeowners to maintain their homes. Preservation Alamance offers a model for doing this. The city of Graham could offer one that is of larger scale. 3, a sidewalk program. Many of our streets lack sidewalks. North Graham is a great area for walking. However, in order to get around town onto our main street businesses, one needs to walk in the middle of the street. This is not safe. Many residents do not have cars and use our local merchants such as Steve's, the Dollar General, for daily shopping. Marshall Street does not have sidewalks and is not safe to walk down, let alone push a baby cart down or ride a motorized wheelchair. Something that occurs on a daily basis. I encourage you to walk our neighborhood to see and experience both the beauty and challenges of walking in North Graham. We all deserve a safe space to live and thrive. 4, the survey of our historic district was done in 1999. It is time for it to be updated. This would enable us to get more grants to support homeowners and renters. 5, we need education programs that bring in the State Historic Preservation Office to better understand the state and federal tax credits that are offered to help maintain these homes that define our towns. 6, we need education programs to teach us options on how to take care of our houses. These are not modern houses. The local big box stores are not geared to helping us solve the problems that come with owning an older home. 7, we need programs that encourage home ownership at multiple price points. According to the last census, a low percentage of our homes are owner occupied. We currently supply a large percentage of Graham's stock of rental units. Healthy neighborhoods depend on a balance of rentals, home ownership, and a balance of residents living at varying incomes. Thank you. Jerome. Okay. Does anybody else want to speak? Okay. Can I entertain a motion?
I make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. All right. Future land use talks. We started with Bonnie last time. Jim, you're up. You got any notes?
No.
No notes?
No,
No, no.
I do,
Or
agree with the young lady 100%. We
Mhm.
honestly, I think we should have sidewalks everywhere. I would love to have a sidewalk that takes me from my house straight to downtown. I've got a one wheel. Yeah, I'm almost 60 and I've got a one wheel, which is an electric skateboard if nobody's ever seen one. And it would be awesome to leave my house because I have a bet with my nephew that I can leave my house and make it to my coffee shop on one charge. And if we had some sidewalks, I think I could pull that off.
Yeah, but you can't ride those on the sidewalk.
You gotta
That's
get caught.
against the ordinance.
that's another ordinance that we'll work with in a moment. Ricky, do you have any notes on the land use plan?
I would like to thank the planning board for all their diligent work.
Okay. Thank you, Ricky.
I must say, the Triad Council is great, and I appreciate the effort you put in to help us develop this plan. It's well-written. However, the issue is here in Graham, there are no large areas where you could grow out some of, the proposed community and shopping areas together. The challenge now in Graham is it's more infill than anything. And so the future land use plan reads beautifully, but when you look at Graham, I challenge you to find a way to incorporate some of the recommendations. The thing about sidewalks, I think is a great idea. But now, I'll use the example of sidewalk going down to Graham High School. And Mr. Westbrook he's brought it up at every council meeting. The challenge is securing the land and then building it. It'll cost over $1 million to build the sidewalk down West Elm.
East Elm Street.
I mean,
East Elm Street.
East Elm Street. I'm sorry, East Elm. We'd like to do it. Now, I'm sure there's state and federal money out there for that purpose. And if we can secure it, then let's do that. But if we have to use taxpayer dollars to do that, our taxpayer dollars, that means raising sales tax, raising property tax. So the challenge we have is happening to the government money, which is our money, but we've been paying to it, to find, there are programs, I'm sure, that would help pay for some of these sidewalks.
Was done with the federal grant. Part of it was done from the gas station there, Citgo, down to Albright. If I'm not mistaken, Aaron told me, that was done under a federal grant, that part. So why can't we do the rest of it and get a federal grant or whatever?
Can we pull back to the land
Yeah,
use
but anyway,
discussion?
yes.
Did you have any other notes?
I think
Okay.
it's well done.
All right. Bonnie, do you have any notes?
I also want to say thank you to the planning board, Dean. You guys are just amazing and you work so hard and we really, really appreciate everything that you do. We really do. And I know you guys work super hard on this. The young lady that was speaking about owning the clinic over on Marshall Street, was it? Okay. I agree with her. And the sidewalks and all these suggestions on page 6, we really need to incorporate these. We need to go after as much grant money as we can. And I actually agree with Mr. Boney. So there may be an earthquake tonight. I don't know. About, notifying people. I do think that's really important. And it's something that we should, I think, be doing. Hopefully there won't be an earthquake. So, but I think y'all did a tremendous job going through this 700-page document. It's very well written. I'd like to thank you as well, Sam, right? Thank you for all the work that you did. And I agree also with Mr. Bennis about we need to protect what we have here. Graham's a great place to live, and there's a lot of stuff coming in. You see builders come in and they just kind of knock all the trees down and they level everything out and build these tract houses, on flat land. And then they say, oh, no, it won't affect your drainage. It won't affect any of this, Well, that's bull malarkey and we know it. And I think we do need to protect our topography and the beauty of this city. But I think they've done a fine job on this. I know it wasn't easy, and thank you very much.
Sam, do you mind coming back up just for a minute? I've got just a couple of questions. On page 4, Council, it's 106 in our packets. Can you speak on if it was survey or what, that there was a page that said grow downtown, and there were a couple of mentions of downtown expanding to Marshall to Maple Street. Did that come from surveys or who did that come from? Or was
Yeah.
that a recommendation from PTRC?
So this is an overview of the old plan, the Graham 2035 plan.
Mhm.
And that was what the public input showed from that plan.
From
So
that
that
plan.
wasn't from our
Okay,
community input. That was just an overview of
okay.
the old plan.
And then can you speak to what Mr. Boney was talking about community input? Is that a process that is talked about in this process or when you work with other communities?
Yeah, so it comes up occasionally. So the way I look at it, this plan is just a suggestion. So all of the other processes that protect people's property rights are the planning board and the city council. And that process is in place, it works. We're not trying to change anybody's zoning or do anything like that. This is just a suggestion. For anybody's land use to change, that's solely on the property owner's discretion. The state has been very clear about that. So, I mean, we could go and ask everybody what they would like their land to be. I'm pretty sure most people would say they want to keep it the same, which is fine. But, yeah, we do everything we can to get people out to come to our meetings, but, he's right. It's hard to get people interested in this kind of thing. So.
Sure. Can you speak on the implications of our vast population growth in this plan? Because our numbers are already matching the 2029 projections.
Yeah, so the projections, they're done, I believe, every 3, maybe 5 years. And they're usually on the low end. I come across this a lot too in plans that I write. They're usually low projections, especially since some of these were pre-COVID and all of the people immigrating into North Carolina from other parts of the country. And yeah, so I think.
No, that's helpful.
If I can add to that comment.
Sure.
I mean, we were already starting with numbers that weren't reflective of true numbers here in Graham from the census. The starting number was basically census data, but we were probably undercounted a couple thousand because they weren't reflecting the multifamily that we had off of 54. So once you account for that, you instantly have 2,000 people added in that weren't reflected. So obviously we're using numbers that are official numbers, but I think when the new census comes through, it'll be evident that the growth was higher as long as the census is able to reflect that.
Yeah, and going along that same point, a lot of the data that we pulled for the demographics were from the 2020 decennial census, which is every 10 years. So we won't get new numbers on that for another 4 years.
Sure. Page 33, developing a transload station. Is that realistic or using Mebbins will suffice? Because that's a recommendation.
Sorry, you said page
Page
34.
33 on mine. Rail, Mebbin houses, developing one of these facilities in Graham should be a high priority, is the very last sentence on that rail and other.
Yeah, so that's just a general suggestion from like what we've gathered from like people want more transportation, that kind of thing. And rail is a great way to get around if it's accessible. It may not be accessible, so.
Madam Mayor?
It looks like.
I'm sorry, a transload facility is for like freight and stuff. It's not for.
Correct. It's for
Okay.
freight. It's for big trucks shipping stuff.
Do you know how much, I know they just, is it completed yet?
They recently completed it. It's
Okay.
in
Do you have-
operation.
Have you got any numbers on that, like what they're doing?
I don't.
Madam Mayor, I spoke to the lady that is over.
Can you speak in your mic, Ricky?
I spoke with the lady who was over the transload facility here in Mebane and asked her about getting one put for the on Parker Street where the rail access is at. And she said that is definitely not going to happen.
It was my understanding they don't put those that close together proximity wise. But that's good to know. Is that something that council would want to take out of the plan because of this information, or do y'all want to leave it in?
I don't think it should be in. I doubt it would be a priority, later.
That last.
I don't see it as a high priority, no. So, I mean.
Yeah, that
we can
last,
Scratch it, it's fine. with
I
me.
use those facilities because when I get shipments in, and I use them and they are quite convenient, but, I just don't see Graham needing it.
yeah, I would strike that last sentence,
Yeah. I'm fine with
developing
that.
one.
Yeah.
Aaron, did you capture that for us? Thank you so much. And then on page 65 and page 64, I like the original text versus the planning board suggested text. I'm interested what council thinks on that. So 64 is 64 is on strip development and commercial centers. The original text recommendation is that Graham Comprehensive Plan incorporates the principles of commercial centers as viable alternatives to strip development. Time after time, the steering committee and public displayed their dislike for future strip development. And then what Aaron has pulled up is the suggested text.
What don't you like about the suggested text versus the other? I'm curious.
Well, so the suggested text says that we basically like strip and commercial centers the same with, it says appropriate, basically if it's appropriate space and place, but this reads that through the steering committee, the people that have volunteered their time, the surveys, that they've actually, the community has indicated that they would prefer a commercial center over a strip mall. Now, we have a lot of strip malls. Those are not going to go away when we approve a plan. But to honor and to uphold what the community has said and through community input, that they have preferred commercial centers. Here's the original if you want.
Back to my original comment. The way the land that's available now in Graham is very restrictive. It's one thing to say, we'd like to have it, especially it looks great. But for much of the land that's available, a strip mall with shops is about the only thing you could build there because you can't build any more residents unless you tear down the existing homes around it. Like I said.
Well, I think,
Commercial center looks great.
where
Where would you do it here in Graham? Downtown's the only thing in my mind that fits that picture of a commercial center.
Yeah, so a little bit of it is the plan is kind of saying like, this would be nice. It's not,
Yeah, I know.
it's not strictly like things that.
You have some folks who read it and they think that's gospel.
But I also think that it's reflecting areas that, where we're extending further from the commercial areas of Graham in our southern parts of the city, like towards the Jim Minor area where there's plenty of available space. And, everywhere south where my cursor is, you have those opportunities where you can embed commercial within the subdivisions.
Right.
So I think it's reflecting opportunities like that where you may have mixed use, which incorporates, I can't think of the name of the place in Chapel Hill. There, yeah, somebody said it. Minimum, where you have, your subdivisions with different types of residential types as well as the commercial. So I think it's reflecting that because you're getting further and further away from, I mean, you think about Riley's Meadows, for example, or Cherry Creek, you're almost closer from where they are to go to Mebane to do shopping than you are to come into Graham.
Yeah.
But when you have land out there where you still do have pretty large tracts of land, it's encouraged to embed some commercial out there to accommodate those who are out in that area off of Cherry Lane and Jim Minor and 54 South.
Okay, I agree.
So
Yeah, cut you off.
No, you got it.
while this plan is a lot of, yeah, we'd like to see this. If we're saying what we would like to see and the community has already said they want to see the commercial centers, I would prefer we go to back to the original 64. Are there any other thoughts? You guys want to see this?
Where did you say they got community input from?
It says on the bottom of that recommendation that I just handed away, that it says through working with our steering committee and community input, we have seen that commercial centers are preference